So, good afternoon po sa inyong lahat. And before I start my presentation, these slides were made by a collaboration between two engineers. Kaya hindi masyadong makulay. It's focused on the framework. Yan. Yun yung gusto naming ma-achieve in this meeting. So, every year, Gartner is releasing the cybersecurity projects and the top trends for security solutions. And starting 2018, I believe privileged access management was included in the top 10 cybersecurity projects. Moving forward, this year, again, Gartner released a new cybersecurity top 10 projects for the CISO. And part of that, it was expanded now beyond the privileged access management. It's now encompassing IAM. So they now called it, the new trend is identity fabric immunity. But of course, what are the underlying solutions within that concept? So, and of course, the main objective of this trend is, of course, to be able for us to safeguard our keys to the kingdom, which are the privileged credentials. And to start with any security solutions, we need to have a framework. And this framework can be applied to any organizations, regardless of financial, manufacturing, or even government agencies. So we call it Zero Trust Privilege Network. And this framework is beyond the traditional slogan of trust but verify. The new slogan now should be establish trust, always verify, and enforce the principle of least privilege. And to be able for us to do that, there are 5 key factors. First is, of course, we have to establish the root of trust. And how do we establish that? We need to have our own identity that will be managed by an enterprise directory service. Of course, one of the popular one is Microsoft Active Directory. But you can also apply other directory service as well, depending on the need of the organization. Then once you have established that identity, then you should validate who is accessing what. And to be able for you to validate that, there should be a robust facility that will enable you to strongly validate your credentials. And at the same time, once it is validated, then that's the time it will give you the necessary permissions. And to be able for that directory service to provide the necessary permissions, then there should be context. What is the purpose of your access? When do you need it? What are the privileges required? And so on. And of course, we do not want to provide possibility of malware connections to your target devices. That's why we would like to eliminate the direct connections of the workstations to your infrastructure by implementing something in between. The old school, we are implementing what we call jump host. Yan. O kaya tawag natin ay application server or bastion, yung pinakalumang term, bastion server. Yan. But of course, with the new era, you can have solutions like a privileged access management to do that for you. And once you have secured the environment, then that's the time you implement the principle of least privilege to provide only what is needed to your organization within a certain boundary. And once that windowed period has elapsed, then those permissions will be revoked. So, papasok doon yung zero trust principle. Okay? And of course, should be able to audit everything. To be able for you to audit everything, sometimes events will not be sufficient or logs. One of the requirements of other organizations is to have a video recording of the privileged activity of your employees. Oops. So now, after you having a framework, then what is the next step for you? The next step is to avoid the identity silos. Most of previous implementations, like 3 years ago, you're implementing privileged access management and identity governance separately. Because definitely they are different products, but they are complementary. But the problem is because the project is separate, then the identity silos that are being is the result of the different implementations. And because of that, the cost will increase instead of reducing it. And one of the good thing, because of that, the good thing is now we have the option to implement them at the same time. Or within a project, but by phase. So phase 1 will be, for example, the solution. Phase 2 will be the solution. And I will show you how to do it. And most of the questions as well is, what are the differences between an identity governance administration and a PAM solution, a privileged access management solution? So in summary, IGA is focused on provisioning and deprovisioning, and of course, access certification, attestation. Yan ang focus. And once those credentials were already provisioned, then it's the privileged access management that will take care to implement the necessary control and measures. So yun yung delineation of the two solutions. But they are tightly integrated and complementary. And of course, there are many use cases when you implement both IGA and PAM. More than 80% of the IAM use cases will be covered by these two solutions. That is why most of the companies now are implementing the solutions as one project instead of a separate project. So it is being done now by telcos, by big banks, and now by the enterprise. Of course, how do you implement your IAM solution? Because it's a big requirement. And there are 3 pillars that you can start with. First is you start with access management. This is where you consolidate your identities, you do single sign-on for your applications, and at least you implement a multi-factor authentication. Because according to Microsoft, with multi-factor authentication, you will be able to mitigate 99.9% of your authentication risk. So, unang-una po yun na requirement. Second is, of course, ang target mo is to manage your critical credentials, which is the privileged users. So, you implement PAM. And with PAM, the ROI is so fast because you can implement it as fast as within 3 months. And sabi nga sa Pareto principle, you focus on your top 20% credentials, di ba? Which is the privileged users. And once you have implemented PAM, it can complement as well yung access management to provide single sign-on for Windows, Unix, and Linux, and multi-factor at the OS level, other than the application's multi-factor. And then you apply the principle of identity governance to manage the whole life cycle from joiner, mover, and leaver. Yan. So that completes the IAM landscape. And of course, to have the identity fabric immunity, you add additional solutions like API security. Yan. Yun yung beyond IAM capability. Yan. That's the next step moving forward once you have implemented your IAM maturity journey. And I think that's all for me. By the way, please visit our booth on the left side if you need further information about SailPoint and Delinea. And I'm happy to inform you that Delinea has their own Center of Excellence in the Philippines. We have around 50 engineers here in the Philippines supporting level 1, level 2, up to level 3 for customers in APAC, outside of the US, like EMEA, and half of the USA. Again, thank you very much, and good afternoon to all.
Thank you once again, Mr. Patricio, for that presentation that was powered by Platinum sponsor Delinea with SailPoint through ITSDI. And earlier he was talking about having to implement a zero trust privilege framework, really have your own identity and manage who has it, and, you know, assign roles and set boundaries. And that also works in relationships in real life as well. So thank you once again, Mr. Patricio, for that presentation.